There's no body, no human remains, no murder weapon, no witnesses that can tell you exactly what happened.
Credibility of who is an issue?
Well, that's a good question. I guess I'd have to be, if your credibility comes into issue, or if there's an inconsistency of any kind between your, but let's push it on.
They ignored the idea that it could be anyone else other than Mr. Anderson. And you'll hear that they meticulously searched Mr. Anderson's property, not just his house, his whole property. No body, no human remains, no evidence that there had been a huge cleanup at a crime scene, no murder weapon.
But I was laying there and I was reading my book and I heard him shout in his sleep before he woke himself up.
And what did he shout that you heard?
He said, "Die, die, die, motherfucker."
And you're quoting as best you remember?
Yes.
All right.
What did I say? And I pretty much told him what he said, and he's like, "Yeah, you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you said it." I basically knew he had did it, because I've been around killers. I know killers, like, pretty much, and he seems like a killer. I pretty much asked him, like, how did you do it?
Judge, I'm going to object here.
Not only did they search his house, they also searched his family's tree farm, an 80-acre farm, top to bottom. Multiple law enforcement agencies, every acre, no body, no human remains, no murder weapon, no evidence of a crime scene cleanup.
But those tiny little moments throughout somebody's life, nobody accounts for those. But what they do a really good job of is making up all of these things that they want you to believe when they can label you as a monster.
Also searched Miss Susan Brown Williamson's home, and that was the place that Mr. Anderson had gone in the morning to work, that the state claims is where Mr. Anderson, I guess, chopped up a body and put it in bags. They searched that property meticulously, not only the house, but the entire grounds. No body, no human remains, no murder weapon, nothing of evidentiary value. They then searched all of the bodies of water that were near that home and Mr. Anderson's home. Not Lake Michigan, but quarries and little lakes. And they had technology that could go all the way down to the bottom to see if there was anything there. That search also revealed nothing. So the person they chose as their main character, the only person they investigated in this case, they did all of that and it yielded nothing.
I'm innocent, Judge. Not guilty. I'm innocent.
Everybody, excited under it here. My name's Hella, and welcome to a very special second anniversary edition of free Zachariah Anderson. And if you don't know what that means I love you in sign language, like this. I love you in sign language. And people thought that, very wrongly, that Zach was giving gang signs when he gave this little signifier out at his sentencing. No, he was saying, I love you. And so this has become his symbol for free Zachariah Anderson. And we use this one, and it's in his logo. And if you have a look at his logo, it's up there. All right. And you can see the little Z that's in his logo. And there's also, if you see the little shape that your hand makes, that little line there in your hand, you can see the Z that's in the logo. And there's a little space shape in your where your thumb goes. That's leading the path out to free Zach. So I like to create little hidden meanings in my logos. So that was my little gift to Zach and the Free Zachariah Anderson movement back when we were all first forming a couple of years ago. Now I'd like to welcome my guests in. And for those of you guys who have not really gotten to know this case very well, these guys are really going to help you to understand what this is all about. So welcome. And we have also, we have Nick as well. Hi, we have Dave of Making Law Simple. We have Nick Starrow, Viking Law.
I got the old school logo here.
You had the old school logo. That was before I made that one.
Yeah.
Yep. And of course we have Mr. Dali, Ilya Dali, Satchel, T-Bone. Guys, it's been 2 years.
Yeah. 2
this
years.
Is the first case that I streamed, and it's still with me. And what? No. This is the very first case that I streamed. I remember I was on vacation, and I had the YouTube channel already, and I was doing some other things. And then I was talking with my wife, and I said, you know what? I think I'm gonna start streaming trials. And we looked to see, or I looked, rather, she didn't care. I looked to see like what cases were coming up that were going to be streamed on Law and Crime or something like that. And I saw this Zachariah Anderson, and it was a jealous ex-boyfriend, And I sit down, I'm like, ooh, this is going to be a good one. This is a love triangle. This is going to be like hot and steamy. And from jump, it's like I fire everything up. This is my first time streaming a trial. I fire everything up, and I'm listening to the opening statements from the prosecutor, and I'm like, okay, seems a little odd, different than I thought. And then the defense started going, and immediately I was like, oh, I don't know about this case. It's not going to be one of those where you sit back and you just like, let's listen to how this guy did it. And then they shut everything down in the first day. There was objections, and the jury was escorted out. And then we came back for day 2 and listened to the rest of the defense's opening statement. And I was like, oh, I don't know what they have here.
It took till day 3.
Well, yeah, okay, you're right. Statement. Yeah, day 3, you're right, because there was the day of arguments on day 2. So, so it was very interesting. It was a good case to start off for me because there was a lot of nuances here in my channel, and it still is. But the goal was to like educate people, right? So we had a lot of downtime to talk about this.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, this was a crap prosecution. There was zero evidence that Zach did it. He could have. Is it possible? Sure. Did the state come anywhere close to proving it? No. And that's the biggest issue with this case.
My clearest memory to this day is we were at, if it was Aussie Overlord stream for the verdict watch, there is like 6 or 7 attorneys, all with different opinions, and everybody just went quiet that he was convicted. We speculated, maybe they can find the stalking, but there's no way.
Stalking, yeah.
And then, I mean, if you put 10 attorneys in a room, you get 12 opinions.
Correct.
But in this case, it was, nah, this isn't right. And then everything that has surfaced afterwards, things that should have been used. In the defense, I pulled this one up.
Yeah. So, Alyssa, I'm of the same opinion. I having everything I've learned since and putting all the pieces together, I'm of the opinion that I don't think it's physically possible that he could have actually committed this crime. So
There's no time.
There's not enough time. He wasn't physically capable of doing it. The travel time, it's all just not logical. So,
When I say is it possible, I mean more from a hyperbole sort of standpoint. Like, is it possible? I guess, but
anything's possible. But
pull up what I just shared. This is the map.
Pull up what you just shared. Oh, you guys both sharing the map. Okay, so for people who are new to this, okay, so we just need to explain that there are this supposed murder scene, and we don't even know if this man was murdered. Okay, so let's just get that out of the way first, right? So the supposed murder scene is in Kenosha,
down at the bottom of the
down at the bottom. Yeah, and Zach lived in Mequon, which is at the top.
Yep.
Right, and of course, all good murderers turn their phones off. Right?
Yeah, because if you turn your phone off, you're either dead or a murderer.
This is the first time I heard of that argument. Mainly because it's a nonsensical argument. But with these sensational cases, with these circumstantial cases, the state will use anything, including the fact well, the phone wasn't there, so he must have left it at home on purpose. And it's or he was with his phone at home, But this is what this is a map of, actually. In order for the timeline, the way the state presented the case, in order for the timeline to work, Zach would have had to have driven.
What's that?
I don't know. Somebody's feedback.
I think that's you.
Not me. I don't have anything going.
Can you hear anything, guys?
I hear.
It was Hella.
It's Hella.
It was Hella.
It was me?
It was you. Yeah, I was muting everybody down the line, and it stopped when it was you. Anyways, so what I was getting at is that this all these blue dots are the cameras that Zach would have had to have passed on the freeway in order to make the drive, right? He could have taken surface roads, but it wouldn't have worked for the timeline. So in order for the timeline to work, Zach would have had to drive past all of these cameras. And the state said they checked the cameras. And in fact, I have a tower of DVDs that the state sent me from all the security cameras, all the house cameras, all the freeway cameras, every camera. And I spent hours watching it.
Seriously?
But yeah, I did.
You combed over all of them.
No, not all of them. No, there's no way. But I mean, if they had something, they would have presented it in trial, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So he wasn't captured on any of these cameras. And that's what this map is kind of showing. The timeline could potentially work, but for those rasky freeway cameras.
Yeah. So it would have taken him an hour and a half to drive each way if he were to try and avoid all those cameras, right?
Yeah.
Which would have left him with
where they are.
The side roads are bumpy side roads, and there are still cameras, just not the freeway cameras.
Yeah.
You have business cameras, you have ring doorbell cameras on all the side routes. So even if they say, oh, he could have made it this route, well, there's cameras there as well.
Okay. I think, hello, I played that little intro to my video.
Yes.
The very first part of it, before we get into Zach's past, I think might give your viewers an idea of what the case is about. Do you think? You know, where I
let's do that. Yep.
Okay, I'll stop it. I'll stop it before we get into all of it, but I think that might give some idea.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Zachariah Anderson, guilty of intentional homicide, first degree, as charged.
This is Zachariah Anderson at the moment he was convicted of first-degree intentional homicide, hiding a corpse, and stalking. So why am I making a video about this? It's just another murder conviction, right? Well, not really. So imagine this. You have an ex-girlfriend who you have 3 children with. You break up, you get back together, you break up, you get back together. But lately, you and your ex have been dating other people. Then one day, your ex's new boyfriend disappears. Well, the police have some questions for you. Now you're thinking to yourself, it wasn't me. There was no witnesses that saw me there. My cell phone doesn't place me there. There's none of my DNA at the crime scene. None of my fingerprints turn up at the crime scene. I'm not captured on any cameras driving to or from the victim's house. I'm not captured on any cameras at the victim's house. The data in my vehicle doesn't place me there. There's no eyewitnesses. There's nothing. But they're charging you anyway, and you're going to get convicted. But I'm getting ahead of myself. All right. So that's the essence of the case, right? That is absolutely the essence of the case. Now, there's no body. They never find Rosalio Gutierrez. They still don't know where he is. There's a ton of other weird things. Like there's credit cards found in the freezer, not by the police, but by the victim's mom after they released the house back to her, or the apartment rather, back to her. And those credit cards have different names on them. They're not his name. And the random people's names. There's this whole issue of like, well, he was hiding under the stairwell by the mailboxes, which you couldn't. I did a walkthrough of the apartment. There's no hiding anywhere. You know, if you're gonna hide somewhere, it's outside. You know, it's not in the unit itself. So that discredits this idea like he knocked on the door and hid and then ambushed him. It was probably somebody that he knew. So there's a lot of weird things about this case, but that gives you sort of the overview.
Yeah,
and that's my little documentary thing I'm putting together.
Yeah, and then you have this incredible timing. How did he know that Rosalio would be home? Because it was Rosalio's day with the kids. He had just dropped the kids off. He was meeting with his either premier piece, side piece, or future piece of lady. And so how did Zach know? There's no way of knowing.
Yeah,
because luck.
Well, yeah, and like, is it Catastrophe asks, is there another alternate suspect? There is, and unfortunately, in Wisconsin, there's this stupid sort of idea that before you can present an alternate witness, you have to be able to sustain an argument that the person had modus opportunity, alternate suspect rather, that the person had motive, opportunity, things like that. And so the other potential suspect, the guy's name is Mike, I forget his last name. They weren't able to, they weren't able to sustain that. So they weren't allowed to present this alternate suspect during the trial. Now, I did a stream maybe about a year ago. We got our hands on the motion that was brought. And what I did is I transposed this Mike guy with Zach. And I said, let's assume Mike's being charged and Mike wants to point the finger at Zach. You don't have enough even there, you have
even less on Zach as a third-party culprit than Mike Campbell.
Yeah, Mike Campbell, that's his name. Yeah.
Also,
Campbell. Yeah.
Gutierrez's father went missing as well.
So
there's never found.
Yep.
Yeah, isn't that strange? That
when did he go missing? Before or after?
Oh, years
Yeah,
ago.
yes, before.
Yeah. But and then there's rumors and conjecture about drugs and drug running and ties with the county, some of the county officials. One of the witnesses that was probably coached by the prosecutor was a county clerk or a county official to some extent. There's a lot of weird little things that just add up. But at the end of the day, that little summary you heard in my video, to me is the issue, right? Like from a fundamental standpoint, I don't care if Zach did it. That was not enough evidence, right? That's the bottom line that I'm coming from. Yeah. Now, I don't think he did it. And I don't think it was realistically possible for him to have done it. But that definitely wasn't enough evidence.
Yeah.
So, Patty B, really good question. So, for the panel, what was the best evidence against him, and why do you think the jury convicted him? I can tell you exactly why they convicted him. They convicted him because one pinprick of supposed match of DNA in the back of Zach's van. And I'm going to tell you that it was what's called transfer DNA, and we've all heard about what that is.
Mm-hmm.
You probably have. And I'm going to show you a little bit of the so-called state's expert and her standard by which she identified that as being a match to Rosario Gutierrez.
Let's preface it with this. Let's preface it with this because I want to see that, but I want your audience to know that this particular individual who testified, there was another DNA expert out of Florida that watched this and said,
Roy.
Yes, nothing about this was right, and actually wrote a letter of complaint as a formal request for an investigation into this, which is something apparently like experts across the field in these state labs can do. And she is getting the runaround from Wisconsin, from the state crime lab, from the county of Kenosha on this. She still, to my knowledge, doesn't have a response. So apparently there's this sort of peer check and balance sort of thing. So if she writes a letter, it necessitates an investigation be done with outsiders being brought in to peer review and check the testing that was done. None of this has been done by Wisconsin, even though it's supposed to be mandatory. It's built into their law, which each state has the same sort of law. And it's not being done. I actually have a really good 2-hour-long interview with her, which is going to be hopefully coming out soon.
Oh, really? You interviewed Tiffany Roy?
I did, yeah, for 2 hours.
I've been trying to get her on for an interview. She's got information on the Koberger case.
We did a just a recording for the purposes of the documentary, and so what I want to do is get that edited and put into a video that I can just sort of put out there. Because it's taken me so long to get the documentary together.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to show you something. Oh, sorry. Do go on, Nick.
Yeah. And one of the fundamentals in this is that they did not have Rosario's full DNA profile.
That's true too. They didn't because they were missing the father. They didn't have him. Right. So they can't take a definitive source of DNA from the body because the body's missing. So they wanted to check the blood and make sure that it was him. And they got the blood in the apartment and then they tested it against his mother, but it's not a full DNA profile because they don't have the father. So they're already starting on sort of shaky ground.
I'm going to warn you guys in advance. This is the most insufferable DA you'll ever witness. Right. And I know there are some pretty bad DAs out there, but this guy, you'll see.
Depending on what quantity they're in.
Sound.
It's very quiet.
Oh, it's too quiet. Hang on. Oops, hang on. No, we don't want that. How do I make it louder? Oh, I know.
Get wrecked gravely. I'll say it for
Get wrecked gravely.
Is that louder?
This,
Can you? share it
Sweet
just as a
Tooth Fairy
video?
says, worse than Binger? Binger? This is Binger's boss.
Yeah, this is Binger's boss. You guys don't like Binger.
And as a crime scene analyst from crime scenes,
Can you hear that better?
familiar with
Can you guys hear this?
Barely.
It's very quiet.
Okay, no, I'll bring. Sorry, keep talking. I'll bring it up in the actual thing.
Okay.
Yeah, there's so much with this DNA. I mean, I had Mr. Gosney, Steve Gosney on, and I tricked Mr. Gosney by I said, let's compare good DNA testimony with bad DNA testimony, and then I showed him a random trial with DNA expert with all the numbers and everything, and Gosney was a bit perplexed because, well, this is okay. This is normal DNA testimony. It's not good, but it's not bad. Yeah, but let's play this part, and then I played the part from Zachariah Anderson's trial, and then it was then Gosney contacted Tiffany Roy because he was really mad. He was, yeah, as Fondine says, Gosney was pissed about the so-called testimony regarding the DNA. So he contacted Tiffany Roy because they had contact before. He got Tiffany Roy involved. So I take all the credit for everything with Tiffany Roy.
Speaking of, do you want? I haven't watched this in quite a while, but do you want to see a little clip of my interview with her, what she had to say?
Yes, please.
I just fast forwarded to the part where I asked her, like, so you had some issues with the testimony, and I don't remember what she said before presenting screen. Something's happening. It won't let me pull it up. Can you pull it up?
Oh, sure.
Nope.
No, I need to remove this one. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Remove and add.
There we go. All right. So I don't remember exactly what she said, and this was just sort of off the cuff. So.
No sound?
Oh, sorry, guys. Let me
We're
do this
boomering all
again.
over the place today.
Yeah, I know. We
are all professionals here.
Yes, we are. We've done this for a while,
to hit
but
that.
we're
Hold on.
really, really bad at it today.
Wait, what happened? Hang on. Let me pull it down. Jeez.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Let me back it up 10 seconds. Now you should be able to hear it in case, correct?
I did. Yes.
Okay. Were there any fundamental, like, glaring issues that you saw, like, that you can recall right now that you want to talk about?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
There were several. I actually filed a complaint with the Wisconsin lab about the testimony of Lisa Treffinger. And I think the most glaring problem was that she offered an opinion that a particular stain was blood based on no data, no science, just her own subjective opinion. And I've never seen that in my life. We are scientists, and that's what we're there to do. We present our data to the court, and we make sure that it's understood and not misunderstood. But you don't just offer pure opinion. Pure opinion is different than scientific opinion based on data.
I have. Can you explain what mitochondria DNA is? Or so I don't know how. Yeah, again, like I don't know how far this goes, but she goes into just a lot of issues. I mean, this is like an hour-long interview with her. We don't have to play it all right now, but this is her. This is Tiffany Roy, and she is the woman that's trying to correct this whole DNA testimony. Did you get yours fixed so you can play it? Hello.
Yeah, I've just got.
And just for the record, Tiffany Roy is probably one of the top DNA experts in the country.
Yeah.
So it's not just a random opinion from a random scientist. this is Tiffany Roy. She's a big deal.
Yes.
Well, the FBI has actually tried to run her out of business, basically. They got really annoyed with her because she was trying to tell the FBI how to basically explain to a jury what transfer DNA is. And they didn't want that. So, yeah, there's an article in a publication called The Intercept where she explains how the FBI tried to get her off their training schedule. So yeah, I wanted to talk to her about that also. Yeah.
Hang on. All right. So you want to know? You asked a question in private chat. I got to pull up my notes real quick. Hang on.
We already found
that's
it.
all right.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry. I'm behind.
5 minutes ago.
All right. Well,
You're
I'm still
already
doing
asked if I'm already there from 5 minutes ago.
I'm just going to pull up my
So
notes.
basically, when she got on the stand,
evidence from outside agencies, and they do testing upon the evidence, write reports on the results, and provide testimony in court.
And when you first began your employment at the state,
I don't want to look at her
that goes out from the state crime line.
qualifications. I want
Profiles there were.
D1 was a single.
Okay, I want to get to the part where she
that goes out
is being
from
told exactly what to say.
You also go to crime scenes or assisted working crime scenes while you were a DNA analyst on many occasions.
Yes,
I did have it on the other one.
Yes.
Some of them are almost indetectable to the human eye, and depending on what quantity they're in.
That's correct.
Okay. And as a crime scene analyst from crime scenes, are you familiar with the appearances of those sources of DNA deposited at crime scenes over your long career?
Yes, I have seen those.
Okay. And then when you do results in the lab, are you also able sometimes to formulate an idea based on whatever available evidence there is about what the source is of those ones that you name?
Yes, I can get a general idea of what they are.
Okay.
General idea.
And I'm going to ask you if, as to any opinion you offer as to what the source of any DNA that we talk about would be, okay? And if we talk about whether you reach any conclusion that something is a match, whether you would please adopt the standard of to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty. Would you do that with me?
Yes.
So if you offer an opinion, would you only offer an opinion if you feel it meets that standard to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty? Can you agree to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Rather than me ask you each time, are you reaching that opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty? Give me no opinion that does not meet that standard. Can we agree on that?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah, you heard that right, Catastrophe.
Were you? I want to start by the items that were submitted to you by other sources. Were you sent some? Let me start with toothbrushes. Let me do this first.
Judge, I'm going to object as far as leading from her report. I think the more efficient and better way to do it is to provide the analyst her report and ask what she received.
I'll leave it in his hands.
I like your suggestion. I'll be quick.
I like your suggestion real quick. This is just like beyond crazy, right? So yeah, when we watch cases, right, we're used to hearing about DNA having a figure attached to it, right? We're used to hearing about DNA being 1 in 1 octillionth chance that it's somebody else.
Yeah. And here's shown this as
talking
match.
about reasonable degree of scientific certainty. In fact, she's not even talking about that. The DA is talking about that, and she's just going, yes. The fuck?
Yeah. What the freak? And it's remarkably stupid. Remarkably stupid.
And then in the closing arguments, the DA is talking about a body being found. He said that.
Yeah.
Right? He actually referred to a body being found, which it wasn't, right? And that his blood was found in the back of Zach's vehicle, which it wasn't. It was never, ever identified as being blood, and that it was a match.
Yeah. And folks, this lab person said she could only test either for blood or for DNA because the sample was too small. And here's the thing. When she tested it, she destroyed the sample and she recorded nothing. And in Wisconsin rules, if you do a test that is with
Destructive.
destructive test, you have to record every step of the way. She recorded nothing. So no possibility of retesting. None.
Yeah.
Zero. Zilch. Nada. That's
the spec.
Yeah, and that is in a that's magnified.
Yeah. Well, you can see it in relation to the little. Is that an inch?
Mm.
This little ruler here. It's absolutely minuscule.
Yeah. And,
right. But
and
one other thing, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to say one other thing. His van was dirty, right? He is a contractor, so he actually demolishes bathrooms for a living. His van was absolutely filthy. This mark was the same color as a bunch of other marks in the van, which were not blood. Right? So his van was filthy. It wasn't cleaned up. There was no signs of cleanup in the van. Right? So you can't say because it looks like brownish or reddish that it's blood, because there were other similar looking marks in the van.
Yeah.
Right? So it could have been skin or something else. Just
And
because
also,
it has some sort of human organ, like it doesn't have to be blood. Go on.
And also, there were evidence that Rosario at one point went to Zach's house.
Yes.
Who says he didn't open the doors to the van?
Yeah.
And this is rural Wisconsin,
Yeah.
so
And
they're
folks,
not exactly locking their car doors. And
So we don't know that it's blood because it wasn't tested for blood. Now, they might have picked up a speck of transfer DNA near this red mark, which is consistent with all the other red marks in the vehicle. And then, but have no idea how it got there because it could have gotten there. Remember, Zach had 3 children with Sadie, and Sadie was with Rosalio, and that could be enough to transfer DNA. To kids moving stuff back and forth and around and putting stuff in the back of Zach's vehicle. So that's enough. And the fact that she testified that this was blood or appeared to be blood, testified in a way to suggest that it was blood, even though it wasn't tested for that, that was the biggest problem.
So we also have this other problem, and we have these stacked charges, right? So a lot of the trial was about what was supposedly stalking, right? So we've got 2 counts of stalking. Then you've got the first degree intentional homicide. Then you've got the hiding of the corpse. I don't know how you get convicted of hiding a corpse when there's no corpse. That part to me is just wild. How you can even charge them without no corpse is very strange. But because so much of this trial was about this dynamic between this lady, Sadie, and the defendant, Zach, who is her ex-boyfriend, and supposed arguments about custody and her apparently feeling like she is scared of him, even though she's inviting him over to the house and having dinner with him and stuff like that, accusing him of tracking her, making it sound like he is this crazed ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
And then because there's that, it paints a picture of him as being a violent, evil kind of person, right?
Yeah.
Not violent, but evil and like felonious, I guess. And then she's the one who finds the bloody scene, which is not that bloody, by the way, but the bloody scene, and immediately contacts police and says, I think it's my boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend, who's done this.
Immediately
And that's
fingers
it.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She pointed the finger and everybody followed it.
It's Zach. Nobody else.
Even though he had been, I mean, he wasn't really not even missing at that time. He just ghosted Sadie because he had a new girlfriend coming over. Yeah,
He
but
did have. Well, yeah, he did.
Yeah. And I want to go back because that little speck of supposedly blood. Now, Rosario was 6 foot, 270 pounds.
Yes.
The state claims he was rolled up in a 5 by 7 foot rug.
Yeah.
And then put in the back of Zach's van on a 3 by 4 foot area, and then driving north. Even if it's on the freeway, and there's not a that's the only trace of Rosario in that car. The rug, no trace of the rug, no trace of any rug, or any I mean, that rug must have been filled with Rosalio's DNA that was put in the back of Zach's van. Yeah. Nothing. And just to I have a picture just for comparison.
I was wondering why you had that up.
Yeah, just for comparison. If you can pull it up. Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Hang on. Boop, boop. Where are we? I just need to.
Yeah, remove this, put this up. There we go.
There we go. Hey, that's the wrong one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Remove. Where is it?
Well, that's the point he was trying to make.
That is what you wanted to show.
Yeah. At that picture, okay, I'm taller, but the same weight as Rosario.
Okay.
Zach is about Baker's height, but thinner.
Sorry,
And
for people
the
who don't know who's Baker, which one's that?
Pink. He's in the pink.
Pink, right. Yep.
Yeah. Broken Baker. And so the state wants everybody to believe that a guy in Zach's size can roll this large person in a rug who they claim there's blood everywhere and not leave a drag mark. There's no droplets that leads out of the apartment. No, nothing. So Zach with a chronic bad back supposedly carried this package out without any of this huge amount of blood seeping out into the car or up to the car. Now, how did he open the car? He had to put the thing down to get to open the car, the trunk door, right?
Yes.
So where is everything? Where are those traces where he put down the body, the package, and then managed to take this rolled up rug and place it on a 3 by 4 foot area? How? It should have been the banana shaped.
Well, the whole thing's pear shaped as far as I'm concerned.
It was local police that handled this. It was Kenosha County.
Yes, I know. Dave is like 4'11". I know, but
Mamlet.
It was the angle of the photo.
Yeah,
Sure.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, but still, but just the fact to place, we still haven't done that experiment by putting me in a 5 foot by 7 foot rug and try to roll it up.
Can we?
We were supposed to do it when you were here in August, and we never did.
Yeah.
We should have done that.
We should have done it. Yeah. But I mean, can you even imagine the ridiculousness of claiming that a 6 foot 270 pound man in a rolled up, bloodied down rug, and all it leaves in the back of the van is that little speck?
Yeah. And a van
And
that's not cleaned. It's clearly not clean.
Yes.
Even the expert, mind you, the expert who took the DNA samples from the vehicle was not called by the state, but was called by the defense. And she testified that there was no evidence of blood in that vehicle, that the vehicle was not cleaned out. Now, the state tried to make an argument that the rug was removed from the vehicle, but the woman who had hired Zach a few weeks prior or a month prior to all of this said that he had removed everything from his vehicle so that he could haul waste in it. So he has a minivan, but he's using it like a pickup truck and just throwing garbage in it. He's hauling out of her house. She testified that, yeah, the rug and everything was removed. This was weeks before Rosalio went missing. She testified to that. The state's expert that collected the samples said there was no indication of blood and that the vehicle wasn't clean. It's just, it was also.
Yeah, and still, that even if the rug was removed, it's still 3 foot by 4 foot. You can't, if you roll something up in a rug, it stays that shape. You don't fold all of that over like a fucking pretzel. You don't.
Not with the dude in it.
I mean, the sheer stupidity of it. But I also believe that the defense was never clear with how small that area in the back of the van was.
Now, this is the every attorney during every case, whatever side you're on, makes mistakes.
Everybody could do it.
And we could armchair quarterback this entire thing.
Yeah.
But the biggest mistake I think the defense made was not having that female attorney, which I can't remember her name.
Mueller,
who did
Mueller.
who did the majority of the examining of the witnesses, who was basically the face of the defense team. She did not do the closing. And it was a guy who was extremely dry and boring and all of this. It should have been Nicole who did the closing. And that's my biggest criticism of the defense.
Nicole was his most staunch supporter, and she made some mistakes.
She did.
But she was amazing.
I follow her on Facebook.
I think the defense made some mistakes, but in hindsight, we're kind of Monday morning quarterbacking. I'm guessing that
time and funds.
Well, her boss probably thought that he was more experienced. He should do the close. And they were probably afraid that she had rubbed the jury the wrong way because she was very abrasive, especially the first and second day after the opening when Gravely had really screwed with her flow by objecting during her open. So
I don't know. It was still bad.
Yeah.
That wasn't her fault. This was a mistake, right? The cross of the daughter was a mistake. Open questions to the daughter was a mistake, right? That lost the trial in a way. So
but even with the mistakes, there was still no real evidence.
It shouldn't have happened. Like the guilty verdicts just shouldn't happen, regardless. But basically, guys, when you watch this and you see that the 12-year-old, she would have been 14, bit more at the time, was put up on the stand and questioned about her father potentially murdering this person, and testify against her father. She had been coached to testify against her father, right? When you see this, you will be appalled.
It was vile.
You will be absolutely appalled. And when you see Zach seeing his daughter for the first time in a few years, and the look of, at first, pride, seeing her for the first time, but then just confusion as she starts to testify against him and call him the defendant.
Yeah.
It's just heartbreaking, guys.
I had
Absolutely.
Sadie in my chat back then.
Yeah.
And she did the mistake of announcing herself while I was halfway through the Wheel of Regrets at the time when I only had drinks. So I said words. And I'm proud of it, you skank.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, Sadie is the ex-girlfriend and the accuser and supposed victim of stalking. And the mother of, obviously, his children, the daughter who was coached to testify against Zach.
Oh. What
By the
was
way,
it?
I put a
She
link
had
into the Give, Send, Go in the chat.
OA had 7 meetings with prosecutor Recht. He never recorded any of them, and she told her story after each meeting with the DA.
Oh, wait a minute. The page can't be found.
I'd like to welcome Andy
Hey,
Cox
Andy.
to the chat. Andy is a wonderful journalist, and has a great channel. Andy, this would be a fantastic case for you to do some reporting on if you're interested. I could help you. Any of us could help you. But yeah, this is an absolute egregious miscarriage of justice, this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, lovely. Welcome, Andy.
The Give, Send, Go is down. Is it supposed to be down?
I don't think so. Is it? That's terrible if it is. If you're having trouble donating to the Give, Send, Go, please be patient. I'm sure it'll be back up again.
No, I have it.
Shortly. Oh, you
I
do?
have it. Yeah.
Is my VPN messing with me?
Yeah, I have it.
All right. You're able to pull it up? I put a link in the chat. I just want to make sure that people can pull it up.
I've got one pinned to the top of the chat.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yes, I do indeed. And I also have a link to the merch store, which has all my pretty merchandise. Yeah, I do.
Nice.
Works for me.
Okay.
So.
Oh, it works.
Absolutely.
I must have just had a bad link. Okay.
Yeah, Alyssa, about the settlement. Munch! Yeah.
Yes.
Munch! That mother... the die mother effer who said that everybody swore up and down that there was no, because his charges was on a federal level, so they couldn't put a deal or anything. 3 months after the sentencing of Zach, Munch was a free man. He went from facing life because of all the priors and all the currents. He was facing life in prison. 3 months later, he was a free man, and he moved to Florida. And to my knowledge, he hasn't done anything yet to, well, as far as I know, he hasn't done anything illegal yet. But when he does...
And I was reading my book, and I heard him...
Sorry, I didn't mean to just start that plane.
When this guy fucks up again, because he will...
Yeah.
I'm going to be so all over it.
So you always know that the state has no case when they bring out a prison snitch, right? And here's the deal: when they bring out a prison snitch who has nothing more than a dream sequence to talk about, they've really got problems, right? Right? This dude is recanting a dream sequence. So this is just my little cut of it that you saw a little bit of in the opening. If you weren't here for the opening, well, here you go.
And I was reading my book, and I heard him shout in his sleep before he woke himself up.
And what did he shout that you heard?
He said, "Die, die, die, motherfucker."
And you're quoting as best you remember?
Yes.
All right.
What did I say? And I pretty much told him what he said, and he's like, "Yeah, you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you said it."
Look into my eyes.
I basically knew he had did it, because I've been around killers. I know killers like pretty much, and he seems like a killer. I pretty much asked him, how did you do it? What happened?
Judge, I'm going to object here.
What the fuck? Right?
Yeah.
What was that? They got this dude to come out of prison in his shackles, in his orange jumpsuit, to come and say that. Right?
Yeah.
The look on Zach's face is priceless. What the fuck is going on?
Myra,
was
what
a
idiots
rowdy.
on the jury believe this bull? All of them.
Yep, all 12 of them.
Yep. And okay, so even more crazy than that was that you saw the DA mouthing the words at the same time, going, right?
Yeah.
So that got caught on court TV, and there was actually some outside the jury arguments, and Judge Schroeder got brought a clip from court TV where they were talking about the fact that the DA was mouthing the words as Munch was saying them. And so Judge Schroeder's like looking at it and trying to line up whether or not he was saying it, mouthing it after Munch said it or before. Like, was it synced incorrectly, or like was he giving him the words, or was he just repeating the words? There was this big thing about it. Remember that, Nick?
So what they said was what the defense accused the DA of doing was leading the witness, essentially mouthing the witness with the answers. And Gravely came back and he was like, "No, I wasn't doing it." And then they showed him the video and he was like, "Well, I don't even remember what his answer was," right? Because he's clearly mouthing along with him. Now,
no, it was something. I didn't do it in sync. I was just repeating.
It was repeating.
Yeah, something like that.
Watch it back. I was just repeating.
Yeah. But once they played it back on this clip, it was the exact same time.
Yeah. But nothing came of it.
Yeah, and according to, I believe Solomon has said it as well, that happened a lot. That he was mouthing testimony, not especially from civilian witnesses.
Oh. And then there was the whole thing with Recovery Addict being broadcast throughout the whole courtroom.
Well, so the judge was watching himself on Recovery Addict's channel, live stream, and that was caught on the cameras. And then Recovery Addict saw that while they were live streaming him watching them, all that disaster.
Yeah, I know that Scott still believes Zach is guilty, but
he's come around on it. He was on my Lego stream 2 weeks ago, and he's come around and he was like, I want to be fair that I didn't watch all of it. I didn't do a deep dive into it. we were just sort of watching along. So that's what he had to say about that, I guess.
Yeah.
Half Irish, of course, link to Vielhammer's playlist. People should be watching this as much as possible. I plan to stream this trial in a few weeks' time. I don't know what I'm going to be doing in regard to like live reactions and things like that afterwards. It just depends how much interest people have in that. But I plan to basically just run premieres of the trial for a couple of weeks. Like I'll run them during the day. People can watch them and chat in the live streams throughout the day. So that will be after Karen Reed, and because people are really interested in watching Karen Reed right now. So yeah, but for real, like go and watch the trial. It's all over on Bill Hammer Media's channel. That's the best place to watch it because it's not
all
called
remastered.
Crazy Ex-Boyfriend over there.
It was, he calls it No Body Murder Case or something like that. Yeah, No Body Murder Trial. That's what he calls it.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
which is more appropriate.
Put the link out there. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't have the crime scene photos. I thought they're on my hard drive, which is not in the treehouse with me right now.
Yeah, and then you have everything that came out after the trial when we got a hold of some of the evidence. You have that what do you call it, the diffuser that was still ongoing when they found, which means that diffuser had to have been going since before 9 p.m. Friday, was it? All up until the crime scene was found.
Now, the state claims that they did an investigation about that and determined that it could have been, it was set in a way where it could have lasted a lot longer. Something along those lines.
Yeah, but they never. Yes, they had a cop on that said, yes, we did test this. This was in this third-party culprit.
Yeah.
So,
it was in that. It was in that.
But they only had a person testify to it. They never showed the test. And many people at the time, about now to a year and a half ago, they did their own tests of it, overfilling, lowest possible. Nobody. The closest was like, so there was only like 10 hours that was missing. But that type of diffuser, again, not possible. Because even if a cop testifies to something in this case, unless he shows it, I don't care.
All right, I'm going to try to pull it up.
Okay, go for your life.
And the pizza box? The pizza box. Oh, we could not find where it came from. It took somebody like 5 minutes to trace it. So they could, And then, you fuckers never tested the beer bottles or the water bottle. Why would Rosario, who was supposed to be alone, and his next girlfriend, next side piece, never came in? Why was there 2 half-drunk beer bottles?
By the way, if we want to go back to the van and show how much it was cleaned out, here's a picture I pulled up.
Yes. Oh, please, yeah.
If you want to.
Where is it?
You got to take your thing down.
I have to take my thing down. Oh, there it is. Nice logo, though, I got to say. There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you zoom that
so
up?
that's it. Can I zoom in? Let me see here.
I don't know.
That's a family van. I don't even call it a minivan. That's a family. It's a 7-seater.
But this supposedly has been cleaned out by Zach. Look at it. I mean, you could see. I don't know how well you could see, but there's like garbage and stuff here. There's a bag here. There's this crap here. It's even worse when you look in the front seat. But this has not been cleaned, right? The argument that the state made is that this was cleaned out, and the state's own witness called on the defense was like, yeah, no, this vehicle.
And there you see the removed carpet, which the prosecution claimed. Well, that's why. Here's why you can't find anything else.
Yeah,
that's 3 by 4 foot.
Look at this. See, you can see how filthy this thing is. This thing has not been cleaned out, right? No DNA, no blood, no body parts, nothing except one speck of DNA was found in this thing. This pristinely clean, smells like bleach car that the prosecution was presenting.
Yeah, except nobody actually smelled bleach in it.
Nope. Oh yeah, that was the thing too. They said that he went and
there was no bleach.
He had bleach. There was
Lysol wipes.
There was he bought Lysol wipes or bleach wipes at the store, and so they said that was used to cover it up. Mind you, this is right in the middle of the vid, and so he's buying Lysol wipes and like rubber gloves. But then they found a bottle of bleach at his home, and so they confiscated that as evidence. They brought it to court, and the defense was like, "Open it up." And they opened it. It was like it hadn't been opened before, had it? No, this is the first time.
Yeah.
So that was another like gotcha moment on the stand too. You know, there was a couple of like Perry Mason or Matlock moments in this case, and I don't know what the jury was doing. The jury has never spoken, by the way. No member of the jury has spoken.
No, jury's never spoken. Andy, so Andy says this trial looks insane. They had to negotiate to avoid a mistrial due to negating a third-party defense. Okay, I've got some casual reading to I reckon. There's this thing in Wisconsin called the Denny Rule, right? And basically what it means is that you cannot point the finger at a third-party culprit without having put forth what's called a Denny motion. Right, so you're precluded from any third party evidence without having it admitted via this Denny motion, right? So it's automatically precluded. It's not that you have someone there's a motion to suppress the third party culprit. It's automatically suppressed.
Yeah.
So if you want to pull this up, this is the apartment. And so this is outside.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's not. It will be, maybe. All right. So this is the outside, Rosalio's apartment door. This is the mailboxes that Law Kong is always talking about. And you can see the stairway. Let me go back. No. Well, so they're saying that there's splatters of blood on the door. And then here you can see there's splatters of blood. And so the argument is that Rosalio was ambushed at the front door. But look at the stairway. There's no hiding in here. I have a much better video that I took myself of this, but there's no hiding. There's no way to ambush anybody in this situation here at all.
I mean, he has this, what do you call it, peephole. That's a wide angle peephole. If somebody was outside that door, Rosalio would have seen it.
So this is the main entrance into the unit, and there's also a door right back here you can see. And so that goes to another parking lot slightly up a hill. And there was all kinds of confusion about where this Facebook girlfriend meetup was sitting, whether or not she was sitting, back behind the camera waiting and not seeing Rosalio, or if she was in another parking lot, if you see my cursor, way off to the left over on the back side of the building. Either way, my argument is that you could see people dragging a bloody corpse wrapped in a rug around. And so this was another issue with the witness. This Facebook girlfriend that was supposed to show up the night that Rosalio was allegedly murdered said she sat in a parking lot, waited for him, and then left. Mind you, her texts are weird, and I don't believe her text messages at all, because she was showing up late, but she never texted and said she was running late, and then she just randomly was like, well, I guess I'm going home then. It was really weird. But then the prosecutor, D.A. Gravely, met with her out there and implicated himself and made himself a witness.
I forgot about that.
In the case. And so in day 6, in the morning of day 6, after Rosalio's mother testified, there was a motion to remove D.A. Gravely from the trial because he was a named witness on the defense's witness list. And Gravely fought like mad to keep himself in. And the judge was like, no, you can't question this witness. You can't even be in the courtroom. You need to leave. I interviewed, by the way, so I have when I went to law school, my criminal law professor was a prosecutor. And we sat in on one of his cases, which was a no body case. And so I immediately went to him for an interview as part of my documentary. And I had asked him, I said, so let me give you this scenario, right? And I explained the scenario. And he's like, in that situation, the prosecutor must have recused himself. There's no way in the interest of justice that prosecutor should have stayed on the case.
Nope. No. In fact, that was a reference in the intro. So he was talking about, will my credibility be called into question? And judge said, well, we'll just brush it off. That was his words. Yeah.
Okay. pull this one up real quick, because this is leading from Rosalio's patio door to where the state said Zach's van was parked. And
we just answered this super chat first. Hang on a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So you're right. Alyssa Ramirez, thank you so much for your $9.99 super chat. The judge allowing the marijuana evidence in was highly prejudicial. The defense hadn't voir dire jury on that.
Yeah. And the judge's reasoning was, well, it is illegal, but times have changed and most people don't think that badly of it. Or something of the sort. And then, it's still illegal and as such prejudicial and has nothing to do with this alleged murder. Nothing. Hello, Mr.
How much did Rosalio weigh?
270. Well,
290.
In the wanted posters, he weighed 270 pounds.
Okay.
On the stand, Rosalio's mother says, "Oh, he tried to lose weight, so he might have been." Well, every time she said a number, it got lower and lower.
Yeah.
So had she spoken 5 more minutes, he would have been 90 pounds.
This day had him down to like 200. Yeah. Okay, but this grass, there's a body's not been drugged along this grass. Even inside the apartment, it's clear that no body's been drugged.
There's no drag marks. There's no blood droplets. There's nothing to say that anybody had been dragged out of there.
Put him at 200 pounds, right? We'll go with the state's number, 200 pounds. A single person is not carrying 200 pounds. They might drag 200 pounds.
Yeah, and it's dead. And it's dead weight.
It's dead weight,
literally.
Yeah. Andy, 7th Circuit is Wisconsin.
A few years ago, my father's German Shepherd passed away, 80 pounds. I had to bring the body out from the bedroom to the car. It took everything I had just to drag it outside on a sheet. And I could not lift an 80-pound deceased animal up, dead weight, by myself. So I don't understand how Zach with a bad back could somehow now do a human person.
Where's the drag marks here? Where's the trail of blood?
Without dragging it. I had to drag it.
Yeah. And remember, in the opening statements, how Gravely said, there was blood everywhere. It was like in that scene from The Shining. Blood everywhere. Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, that's the description of it. Yeah.
I mean, I could cut my finger and bleed this much.
Yeah. That's blood. And you see, but all of these other things, that was the cops stepping around in the fucking blood, leaving footmarks everywhere, making it impossible to find traces of other people. Mr. Jingles, if you scratch me one more time, I'm going to nail you up on the door by your ears.
All the blood that they found in
I'm joking.
Apartment wasn't even enough to say he's dead.
Yeah. I mean, it was bad. I mean, this looks bad, especially the splatter marks. Like, if we go back here, like there's splattered blood on the ceiling. This looks bad. Yeah. This looks like somebody got a beating, right?
Yeah.
We can all agree to that.
Beating.
You know, there's blood splatter on the wall. Look at, I mean, you can agree that somebody got a beating.
Happened.
Yeah, something happened. But to say then, who's to say that then Rosalio wasn't escorted out by somebody, right? Because there's no drag marks.
Towel around the head and out you go. Because there's also pooling on the sofa. So at one point, he was sitting at the sofa.
Yeah.
Long enough for the blood to pool.
There's so many pictures. Let me go to the sofa. See right here.
Yeah, and that's a nosebleed.
That's pretty bad.
No, that's my nosebleed.
All right, fair enough.
I think something happened to him for sure.
Oh, yeah, I definitely think something happened to him.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Somebody knocked on the door. He looked out, saw somebody, and let him in. And then all of a sudden, something happened.
But I don't think he actually died in there.
look at. So this is supposedly what? How many hours later in this diffuser is still going?
I believe it's close to 50 hours later, or even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this diffuser is still going. So again, according to the state's timeline, this happened, and this diffuser like lasts maybe 24 hours, but it's still going. Look at how much mist it's spewing out in this photo. This is when the police are there.
That's not a low setting,
right?
As this.
Hey.
Hey, Mr. Branca.
Mr. Branca's
hey, folks.
here.
How are you? Where are you? I see you on a motorcycle. Those things are dangerous, man. I don't know how you do that.
That's what I tell people. Don't do it. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
I showed my son your video, by the way, where you were going on about the motorcycles, and I, the clips and stuff that you were showing him, that you were playing, and he's like, you remember that first part where he said, it's a passion? He's like, that's how I feel. I'm like, you're still not having a motorcycle. We're selling the damn thing.
Is your son's still a minor?
No, he turned 18 and he decided. He asked me if he could buy a motorcycle. I said no. I'm like, not while you're living here. And then he went and got one anyway.
Oh, he's 18, but he's still living with you.
Yeah, but still living with me. Yeah. And
right. Okay.
Went and got one anyways, hid it from me, and then laid it down 5 days after he got it. And I was like, this is why we don't get motorcycles. But
did you just turn into Becky Hill?
Who?
You're muted.
Oh, you muted yourself.
I did?
Hello?
No, it's
no, Dolly. Dolly's acting weird.
Just keep going. I'll be right back.
Just keep going.
Okay.
Okay.
He
wants to disappear. He would like to disappear. Bye. It's lovely to have you here, Andrew. Now, for anyone who doesn't know Andrew Branca, lawyer self-defense, mainly a self-defense expert, yes, but also you did spend a few days of your time reviewing this case, didn't you?
Just a couple, 2 or 3 days in. I have to be honest, it's very difficult to kind of go back in time and cover these cases again. The people who are interested watched it the first time, and they're not really interested in a review. So everything I've seen, it looks like one of the many miscarriages of justice that we see all the time when we cover these trials. We just saw Christopher Shore escape by the skin of his teeth. A similar injustice. We're looking at Karen Reed right now, and I haven't watched much of the Karen Reed stuff, but I've seen enough to think that I kind of feel like there could be a reasonable doubt in this case, and I certainly don't like the way that the prosecutors approaching it. The prosecutors are approaching it in the way that you see prosecutors approach cases in which the prosecutor thinks he doesn't have the merits on his side.
What's scary about the Karen Reed case right now is that the second trial is much different than the first, and there's a very realistic possibility that she's going to be convicted. And I don't think.
Yeah, and she made interviews where she talked and talked.
That's one of the biggest problems.
And I said this a few weeks ago because there will be a rebuttal closing by Prosecutor Brennan, and he will show the most damning clips of Karen Reed saying the most bad stuff about herself, and then the defense, they can't.
Well, he did in the opening, right? Wasn't that in the opening? Because I've seen those video clips, and the only place I would have seen them is in his opening argument.
He plays them like a variety show. He plays them. He'll take testimony from a witness, and then he'll play a random video, and then he'll take like another testimony, and then he'll play another one. It's like a variety show.
Yeah. And a few of those are really bad because everything is out of context. But you can be damn sure he's going to play a lot of them during rebuttal closing when he knows the defense can't do anything about it. And people have been convicted of this.
For sure. So how's the defense counsel been? Alan Jackson, all those guys?
Really good. I mean, everyone, money quarterback is what it is, but really good.
Okay.
on top of their game and asking the right questions. You know, there's a few that are fumbled around. There's a couple that are maybe a little too open-ended, but really on it for the most part.
Yeah, and now
Not like the Christopher
prosecution-
Shore trial.
No. And to be honest, not like Zachariah Anderson either. While the defense was on top of things a lot in the Anderson case, they weren't on top of everything like they should
Yeah.
have been. But you know, when I was watching it the first go around, I was like, "Oh, this guy's not guilty. I think we're good." I mean, I wouldn't even put on the defense, you know. But I'm looking at it that way, and not like the jury was apparently.
You can't not put on a defense. It seems that way. Is it even though you have no burden to put it on a defense, you can't not really. I mean, the state can pretty much do nothing. They can pretty much put someone there in that seat, and jury just seems to just believe that the person's guilty and need it to be proven to them the other way around. Prove to me that person's innocent. Come on, give it to me. Why?
I call it the 48-hour
innocent?
effect. When I was in law school, they used to talk about the CSI effect, where everyone wanted to see all this scientific data and videos and enhancement and DNA, and they weren't going to convict without this, and it was called the CSI effect. But now I feel like we're at a point where it's the 48-hour effect or the Dateline effect, right? Where the jury's going to sit down and tell me an interesting story about how this guy did it, so then we can go back and convict. And you really need to put on a defense, otherwise you guys go into jail.
Exactly. Yeah. And I refer a lot to what you say, Branko. Like you talk about how it's a show, right? Like this is
It's
very
theater.
much just about telling a story. It's theater, yeah.
Yep.
And if you're not giving a good story back, then the prosecution's going to win. They're just going to buy into the story, right?
And juries, I mean, unfortunately, a huge weakness here is this very concept of beyond a reasonable doubt. We don't really explain it to juries in a useful way. It's not a manner in which people make normal decisions in their life. You make a decision. It's like, well, would I rather go to this restaurant or that restaurant? It's a preponderance of the evidence standard that is normal to us. And if you don't drive home to the jury exactly how high the burden is, beyond a reasonable doubt, they'll just apply a preponderance standard. Most people get convicted on a preponderance standard. And unfortunately, it's not that easy to do because it's the law. The judge often doesn't like you talking about the law in front of the jury. The place I've seen it done most effectively is actually during voir dire, during jury selection, where it seems the judges give the lawyers a little more freedom to operate because the jury's not selected yet, right? You don't know if these people are going to be jurors. And I've seen them get a lot more grace to talk about the concept of bringing in like a poster board. It's like, it's not this high. It's not this high. It's all the way up here. It's all the way at the top. The judge will instruct you to apply that standard. Will you commit to my client that you'll do that? And you get the jury to emotionally commit to that very high standard going in. That's very effective, but very few defense lawyers do that. And often when they try to do it in an opening, the state objects and it gets sustained.
Argument.
And then the jury doesn't actually hear much about beyond a reasonable doubt until closing argument. And by closing argument, it's over. They've already decided.
They've decided
what their verdict is.
Yep. It's interesting you say that about voir dire. I've heard recently a few cases where apparently they've seen that steps graphic in voir dire, which, by the way, I have a problem with the steps graphic. It's not very good. But at least that's been discussed in voir dire. It's terrible. I need to make a better one. But maybe it'll be adopted if I make a better one. But they talk about it in voir dire, but then it's just forgotten. And it's probably not forgotten, like you say. It's probably just not allowed to be spoken about during trial, right?
I mean,
some courts allow you to use it during opening and closing. I've been able to use it during closing arguments. I haven't, but I agree with Andrew that voir dire, you have much greater latitude. I had a drugged driving, right? Prescription medication sort of situation case. And I was able to dive deep and to question people about medications and things like that. And way beyond anything that I'd be able to do in opening statements or closing arguments. But get it in their minds like, hey, this This can happen to any one of us, right? So let's start with that premise, folks. And it worked actually. So you can get into a lot more with voir dire than you can with the opening and the closing.
Yeah.
And it may be a transient opportunity, right? Once the prosecution catches on that this is being done, they'll probably try to clamp down on it. But you you take your opportunities where you find them.
Yeah.
Lord Kong says no one saw the FN blood on his door on the 18th.
Yeah, there was testimony.
Mailboxes.
Yeah, there was. So he's talking about the testimony from the neighbors and things like that. Remember, we saw a moment ago, and I closed down the website, but we saw a moment ago that there was all the blood on the outside of the door and the mailboxes, around the mailboxes. Nobody testified to have seen that on the day prior. So
and that's amazing, because this was in the height of the vid. Everybody was home. Everybody ordered home food.
Mm-hmm.
The mailman, the package delivery guys, the Amazon packaging, everybody had to pass that door, those mailboxes, to deliver anything.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody saw anything.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, I went to those apartments and I took a look around, and I was chit-chatting with some of the neighbors. I don't feel like they're the most the type of people.
Look at Dave trying to be so polite.
They're gonna be like shocked if they saw it, remember it if they saw it, or care if they saw it, right?
So I started my legal career in the public defender's office in New York State. I wasn't a lawyer. I hadn't gotten to law school yet. I was an investigator. But I've had exactly that experience. You get to the scene, you start talking to people, and you're like, they're not effing going to remember anything.
Nope.
No, but you can argue it in court, because everybody believes they would notice, while they won't.
Yeah. But that was not. We're not talking about high-end apartment buildings here. Let's just leave it at that. Oh, is Solomon in the chat?
Yep.
No. Okay.
Is Solomon here?
You just popped in.
Where?
Or
Did
popped in chat.
Where is he? Someone bring him up.
Hello.
Hey, Solomon. How's it going,
Zach's
man?
brother, everybody.
Zach's brother's in chat. Love you, man. How are you?
You can ignore my messages, Solomon. Apparently I had the wrong link for the Give Send Go.
Oh, right. You're making dinner. Hey, so I hope you don't mind me speaking on your behalf a little bit. So just in regard to Zach and his progress, the appeal has taken just a little bit longer than I guess everyone had hoped. And yeah, I mean, these things take time.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the things that people generally mistake about guilty verdicts and wrongful convictions is that, oh, well, they can just appeal, right? Well, Zach has been in prison now for 2 years, and he's likely to be in prison for a fair bit longer. That's assuming that his appeal is successful, and then he has a trial where he goes through all this again, and then he is fortunate enough to be found not guilty in the same kind of situation, right? So again, having to go through a jury trial and have the same set of circumstances put up against him. So I hate to be negative or cynical, but it's not looking good, guys, right? I believe wholeheartedly that this man did not do this, but he's already been found guilty, and the odds are stacked very, very badly against him. Now, he chose to be in a single cell, which meant that, unfortunately, for a very long period of time, he was for 23 hours a day on his own. So that means being in lockdown, right? Now, recently, Solomon tells me he got a prison job. So that would have helped his state of mind a bit. So out a little a few hours a week. But up until getting the prison job, he was in basically a solitary situation for about up until January this year. He was in a solitary situation until January this year.
By the way,
Imagine that,
under
everybody.
international law, if the prison puts you in solitary, that's considered torture.
Yeah.
That's torture because we're social creatures.
Yeah, if you go by the conventions, I think the absolute maximum before they actually charge you with a war crime, I believe it's 18 days in solitary.
Yeah. Yeah, those who followed the Richard Allen case will know this very well. Now, because I believe he chose to be in a single cell, that would be, I suppose, okay, right? But their rules in the prison are that, okay, you're in a single cell, therefore you are in lockdown for 23 hours of a day.
Why is that?
Great. I have no idea.
Oh.
I don't know. And is anyone doing anything about it? Right? So 1 hour out for exercise a day. Right? Now you can imagine what that would do to someone's mental health. Yeah? It just makes me really sick to think about this. Very sad. And I just put it out there to anybody who thinks that defending a murderer or considering that the whole idea of the presumption of innocence is just for people who are a bit stupid or don't understand that, the cops tend to get things right, that really you need to consider that if they get it wrong, if the jury gets it wrong and they find someone guilty that isn't guilty, this is the upshot, right? This is what happens to people. You can't just appeal. It's not a matter of, they can just appeal. It's not that
normal
easy.
people don't know, right? What they know about courts and the law, they learn from TV, law and order and stuff, and but they don't know that it's very much like Alice in the Looking Glass. I mean, if you're not if you don't live in that system and you're a normal law-abiding person and you're shoved into it, it's an Alice in Wonderland experience. It's completely bizarre. You have the Cheshire Cat, you have the Crazy Queen, you have all these characters that are ruling over your life. And as we just saw in the Christopher Schur trial, there's no guarantee that any of these people who are deciding the rest of your life are competent at all.
These are bus stop people, the jurors, and they could be anybody. You can be so unlucky that you have, what was the study that the average American reads on a 5th grade level? You can be unlucky and have those people on the jury that is below the average.
I apologize. I have to go. My mother-in-law just landed, or just got here, rather, from Sweden. So I'm going to go greet her.
No worries. We're nearly done here, but yeah, thank you so much for being here. You've been so helpful.
You gave her your address? Why would you do that?
Sit on the broom?
My mother-in-law is cool. She agrees with me most of the time, so she picks my side, and then it's 2-1, so we're good. All right, see you guys.
Toodles.
Love you, Dave. Bye. Patty B has a good question. How good are his chances on appeal? Nick, you might weigh in on that.
Remembering all the things that I believe were judicial mistakes by the judge, I would say better than average, but better than average might only bring it to a 3% chance instead of a 1% chance. So we have to prepare for the worst, that we might read about this in 20 years' time when they find whose DNA it is on the phone that was placed in the freezer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe Solomon's watching, so I hate to be negative, but it's not a good situation. I mean, the prospects of meaningful relief on appeal are generally less than 1%. You really have to win a trial. If you don't win a trial, when you're at trial, theoretically, all the presumptions are in your favor. You're presumed innocent. The state has all the burden. Once you're convicted, all the presumptions are against you. It's presumed that the jury got it right, however crazy that might be, and it's just an uphill battle for you. It's a very difficult position to be in. And then if you do get meaningful relief, normally it's just another trial, and normally you're in front of the same judge you had the first time. So if the judge was the problem, you still have that problem. You'll have the same prosecutor. So the prosecutor was the problem. You have that problem again.
Yeah, now you won't.
prosecutor.
Different because Gravely retired and the judge has retired.
All right.
So
maybe you have a shot at someone better, but you don't know. I mean, it could be someone even worse.
Yeah.
Couldn't get much worse than Gravely, but the judge maybe someone worse. Yeah.
There's some pretty bad judges out there.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we know. Have you seen Gull in Indiana? But she's in Indiana, thank God. So post-conviction management, is that what you mean by PCM is his best chance, Solomon? And if that's the case, lawyers, could you explain?
I don't know enough to explain about that.
I'm not sure what PCM means. That might be a local thing.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not a phrase familiar to me. But I don't do a lot of appellate work. So, I mean, that's what he's doing. That's what an appeal is, of course. And I saw Solomon mention that there might be a possibility they would dismiss with prejudice, make it a mistrial, and I mean that God willing that would happen. But I don't think that should be a reasonable expectation.
Direct appeal to the trial court, right? Okay. I
mean, everyone who's convicted
asked
asked the trial judge to overturn the conviction, to render a verdict of innocent despite the jury. And it's never done. You always ask because you're allowed to ask, but it just doesn't happen.
What if it's a different judge when you're doing that? I mean, does that...
Well, you have this situation there that most of the judges recused themselves from this case because everybody had a connection with the Rosario family.
Yeah.
Give people a background on that, Nick. We haven't spoken about them.
Oh, yeah. Rosario and Rosario's mother both have worked in the justice system, in the court, and more or less the only person in that county that could take on this case was this judge. What's his name again?
Schroeder.
Judge Schroeder, who more or less was on the verge of retiring. He only handled petty crimes and stuff like that.
No, family law at the time.
Family law, yeah.
He was
he'd suffered a head injury, right?
He suffered a head injury a few months before the trial, and everything was laid up so that they could get this out of the county. But Schroeder said, "No, I can do it," and he is visibly much worse than in the Rittenhouse trial.
Yeah.
It is apparent how much worse he was.
And, I mean, Hella, you and I have seen him in Mark Jensen from 2008. I mean, it's...
yeah, he had his marbles then.
Yeah. Yeah. And then compare him to Rittenhouse, and then...
Even Rittenhouse, he was sketchy.
Yeah, I know.
He was sketchy.
He was much better when he was in...
quickly downhill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that fact, I mean, just the fact that everybody but Schroeder recused themselves. Well, there was one other, but he had a conflict of trials. And I don't know who that was or if he's still a judge. So, yeah, say appeal is successful. It's being brought down to the same county again. There has to be a new prosecutor. And chances are, if the same judges are around, they have to move it out of county. And with the new set of people looking at the case, because not everybody... prosecutors tend to protect prosecutors and judges tend to protect prosecutors. But it doesn't mean it will be the same kind of fuckery as in this trial.
There was so much going on that behind the scenes, and I'm sure of it. Like there was protection of people who worked in the judicial system. There was obviously tampering with a witness. That was Neda, the lady who was seeing the supposed decedent. There was this thing going on with the supposed scientific expert, the DNA lady. It was just an absolute stitch up. Absolute stitch up.
Now,
and
that
it's
DNA
wrong.
lady still works, so she will still testify. But
Unbelievable.
I mean, and if there is a second trial, but then the prosecution has a do-over. They can refine their arguments and everything. But I also believe in this particular case that with a retrial in this case, there will be better chances because the next set of attorneys, unless it's the same attorneys, knows what mistakes they did the last time. But we are just speculating here because sadly,
I mean, you would hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Solomon says the DA described someone that interfered with the investigation that also may have been involved with the disappearance as a hero.
Yeah, he described Michael. What's his name again?
Campbell
as a hero. That's the guy with his friend who went out to Zach's house, even though cops at the scene told them, do not interfere. And they still went out to Zach's house.
That's right. Zach got just a little meeting, didn't he? He got a little visit from some friendly neighborhood thugs.
He was called a hero. Do you think that could
two
have
people
opened the
with
door?
an interesting criminal past and everything who were very close with Rosalio, who had every incentive to put their thing on somebody else?
Yes, they went out and visited Zach. And you know what Zach did? And this doesn't seem like someone who just went and murdered someone. He called the cops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He told the guys who trespassed his brother's name instead. And the prosecutor turned that around to, look how deceitful he is. He said a fake name to these friendly people who only happen to trespass.
Mm-hmm.
Well, people have to understand, once you're at trial, the prosecution's in it to win it. I mean, they're not there to lose. They're going to use every lever they have at their disposal to get you convicted. And if that means exaggerating evidence, if that means misrepresenting evidence, if that means concealing exculpatory evidence, they do it.
Yeah.
And they're never held accountable.
Yeah. Every civilian witness had meetings with DA Gravely, not recorded. And every time they left, they changed their story just a little bit. Every time, including the daughter, OA, who were in, what was it? 7 interviews with the DA for a combined, I believe, upwards to 30 hours. None recorded.
And actually, as far as recorded interviews are concerned, though, or interrogations, they are over on Crime Circus as well as on David's channel and a few others. I am going to be running them also, so people can see. Unfortunately, Zach did talk, and that's something that we all know is not a very good idea. But you will see that he talked, and he had, just like you guys have seen Rick Allen talking to Jerry Holman, etc. He's just there going, I don't know what's going on here. He's got no clue. He's got no clue what's going on.
I'll just tell my side and everything will go away. I mean, that's how normal innocent people are, right?
Yeah, but you have this thing, everything you say can and will be used against you. It doesn't say used against and for you. No, it doesn't. It only says against you.
Yep.
Now, he wasn't formally Mirandized until at the end, because before that, it was just a conversation.
Yeah, he didn't actually know he was there about any homicide or anything like that. He thought he was there because of something to do with the ex-girlfriend and the custody dispute and all that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
it was just potential. Was it visiting the house, or was there something to do with her calling because he wasn't supposed to be there or something? I can't remember exactly, but I don't think there was a protection order, but there was some garbage to do with that.
Yeah. And Zach had a folder on Rosalio's on his computer, which nefarious. Yeah, but he was collecting evidence for a custody dispute. But in the eyes of the prosecutor, look at this stalker.
Yeah, no protection order. Yeah, I didn't think there was a protection order. Solomon, thanks.
No.
Yeah.
Well, we don't even teach civics in America anymore, like how our government's structured and stuff. I mean, the last few months I spent most of my time screaming into a webcam about how people don't understand how Congress works and how the Constitution works. But not only should we be teaching civics, we ought to be teaching how you interact with police officers. I mean, these are basic rules that everyone should understand, but we don't explain this to anybody. The police are not necessarily your enemy, but they're not your friend either. And every word you say to them can be used against you. And they are allowed to lie to you in the course of an investigation. They are allowed to mislead. They are allowed to say, hey, we're just here to talk about a missing dog and some candy that a child lost, and get you talking. And everything you say counts. And until they're compelled, they're put in a position where they have to say, yes, we're talking to this person as a suspect.
You froze.
I froze?
Yeah, a bit.
Sorry.
This statute that talks about cops can lie, I went back to the original one. That's really, really narrow. But, oh boy, has it expanded over the years. With each new decision that has been gone up for appeal, move the goalpost, and now, for the past 15, 20 years, a cop can lie about everything.
I mean, it's an interesting dynamic, right? A lot of these rules are made by people who are judges and lawyers, people who have, let's say an IQ of like 120 or 130, and they think to themselves, well, if a cop came to me and said, we have a witness that said you murdered that guy, I would never just confess to a crime that I hadn't committed just because he lied to me. But people with an IQ of 120 and 130 don't tend to spend a lot of time hanging out with people with an IQ of 100. And people with an IQ of 100, they're not that hard to fool.
I do that a lot.
they're just not hard to fool. And a lot of people in a precarious personal situation, like maybe they've been in trouble with the law before, maybe they've been in jail before, maybe they don't want to lose their job. These are people who might say things that are not true in an effort to try to escape the trouble they're in. And then that gets used against them. And then they get convicted of a murder or manslaughter because of the statements they made. Because they chose to, they tell them, hey, we'll get you a lawyer if you want, but are you sure that's what you want? Maybe we can just make this go away, That
could take a lot of time, like, really?
You're going to be here all weekend. If we can't get a lawyer till Monday, you'll be here all weekend.
No, you sure you don't just want
your
to
kids
talk
are
to
getting
us?
out of daycare? You got to pick your kids up from school? Oh, well, we could do it quicker, but you wouldn't be able to do it with a lawyer. So do you want to talk to us?
Yes. No, that's probably a bit of too much trouble, really, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, guys.
If you're sophisticated, you tell the cops to go screw.
The
daycare people are not going to throw your kid into a volcano because you didn't show up. Go screw. But if you're not sophisticated, these techniques work.
Yeah, that is why
you don't want to look guilty.
In my merch store, I have a doormat with I invoke my Sixth Amendment protection, which you can buy and give to somebody definitely will talk.
Guys, thank you so much for being here. We'll probably end this up now. Now, plan is that after the Karen Reid trial is over, because everyone's watching the Karen Reid trial, once that's over, I plan to run this trial during the days. So I will run it as a premiere during the day, so it'll be live, and everyone can chat in the live chat. I will be in there as much as I can, even though I'll probably be asleep half the time. It's during your day, not mine. And then at the end of the day, I'll do some live reactions at nighttime. I've got lots of mods who know a lot about the case, but then I have mods who don't know much about the case as well. So great.
Yeah.
Like everyone can get in and have a talk. And guys, enjoy discussing the case. Also, just be aware that there's a guy who's in prison, and at the moment, it's pretty much for the rest of his life. So I'm really hoping that we spread this word as far as we can, that there's been injustice done. Please, if you can spare a couple of dollars, there's a Give, Send, Go at the top. His defense fund is costing a lot of money, right? So we've raised, I think, 50,000.
65.
That's going to probably cover about 2 hearings.
Yeah,
something like that.
Probably,
yeah.
it's already
So
gone
for
through
those who don't know, quality appellate
Yeah.
work for a lawyer is at a minimum $500 an hour, more commonly $1,000 an hour. $1,000 an hour of the lawyer's time, and it's a lot of time.
It is. So if and also any ideas of ways to fundraise, really open to that, guys. So if you can think of ways we can spread this to other platforms, to people who are really good at getting this word out and helping us to get support. And we've raised this much money, but I mean, it's really small fry when it comes down to it. There are some people who are much better at it than us. And it's not just about dollars, but it really helps for him because, I mean, they completely bankrupted Solomon. Zach. He had property, he had some savings, he'd done okay in life. Just like, and it cost everything for him to defend himself. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars all gone, and he's had nothing. And now here he is in a single cell on his own, not seeing his children for the rest of his life, and that's it, it's all gone. So he's relying on the goodwill of people who believe that he's innocent to spare $5-10 every now and again to help him. So those of you who want to watch the trial and want to get to know about this, I'll be running it soon. If you want to watch it earlier, it's over on Billhammer Media's page. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and I really appreciate you all. Solomon in chat, love you, and Jen, and guys here, thank you for being here. And
My pleasure. Thanks for the invite. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Thanks.
Love it. Thank you, guys. There's time for the song.
Yep.
And she dances sometimes. The words are always so loud, and because she's an 803 to the attention, excited utterance.
You need help ending the stream?
The cat is staring for me.